What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com. Got another AMA Ask Me Anything episode. This was brought to us by Delyan, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, talking about long-term keto, the positives, the negatives, all that good stuff. Before we dive into that, let's roll the intro. All right, so Delyan asks, what is your take on long-term ketosis? Some consider long-term ketosis to uplift stress hormones as it is so-called a stressed state. There are some concerns about keto, about too low of insulin levels. It can cause electrolyte imbalances. What is your personal approach towards the keto diet? Do you perform a more of a cyclical keto approach where you have days where you up your carb intake in order to get out of ketosis once per week or once per 2 weeks, for example? Or do you perform strict keto long term? What is the longest period of time you've been in ketosis? Months, maybe even years. For your 10 plus years of experience in keto, how many times have you broken out of ketosis? All right. I've been strict keto for 10 years. I have not broken out of ketosis in that 10-year span. Yes, there are times when my ketone levels are below 0.5, but I have not had a carbohydrate-specific meal or food in that 10-year span. So in 10 years, I've not had a normal piece of bread, potatoes, French fries, normal ice cream, anything like that. I have not intentionally deviated from ketosis in that 10-year span. I'm in a very fat-adapted state, and I'm alive to tell the tale. I have not had any issues with electrolyte imbalances or dysregular insulin levels or anything like that. I'm not diabetic. I don't have any problem secreting the proper amount of insulin. So none of those issues. Now, you are correct in that keto long-term can be a stressed state, but there's a caveat to that. And the caveat is that is true if you are just not eating enough as a result of the incredibly satiating nature of ketosis. So a lot of people are in a heightened stress state because with keto, they are more satiated and they're just simply not eating enough food. But that same thing can happen with any diet. It's just easy to undereat with keto for some. I have no problem getting in a lot of calories with keto, but a lot of people find it incredibly satiating and don't eat enough. Not eating enough is the primary driver of that stressed state. Chronically restricting is why people have hormonal issues and all kinds of issues. Inability to improve, muscle tissue, overall body composition, downregulated metabolic state, hormone implications, all that comes in a result of that just chronically underfed state. In order to bypass all of that with a ketogenic approach, you simply need to have periods of time where you are eating at or above a maintenance intake. And hopefully that maintenance intake is a healthy baseline maintenance intake. So I hedge against that by having very specific periods of time where I'm in a fat loss phase with the intention of dropping into a caloric deficit, preserving muscle tissue while also burning as much body fat as possible. And I correspond that with more time spent at a caloric surplus. And that surplus is what allows your body to upregulate its metabolic rate, to improve hormonal function, to build more muscle tissue, which then also improves metabolic function. All of that comes and can benefit from strategic periods of being in a surplus. That's true with any diet, but you obviously have to do it with ketogenic diet as well. So there's a yin-yang effect that goes with any diet. You have to have the benefits of being in a caloric deficit kind of in tandem with the benefits of being in a caloric surplus. You can't really benefit if you're doing all of one or the other. People obviously have problems overeating. People obviously have problems undereating. You have to have like this undulation that takes place between those two in a healthy way to improve overall body composition, lose fat, be metabolically healthy, metabolically flexible, metabolically sound, hormonally stable, all that good stuff. So to answer your question, I've been strict keto now for 10 years. I have not deviated from that approach in the past 10 years, but I kind of blend that 10-year span with periods of time in a fat loss phase and periods of time in a building phase. Generally speaking, a fat loss phase for me is 4 to 6 months long, and then I'll have like a 3-month reverse diet period after the end of that fat loss phase, and then I'll stay at a slight surplus to focus on building muscle, improving metabolic rate and hormonal balance for the next 2 or 3 years after that fat loss phase. I spend more time in a surplus than in a deficit. It takes more time to build muscle than it takes to lose fat. So it's beneficial to spend more time in a surplus than in a deficit. But if you do that, and obviously you're doing all the other right things like getting ample sleep, eating high quality ketogenic foods, and just, good macro profile, you're not gonna have to worry about any issues with becoming insulin insensitive, insulin resistant, having any issues with your pancreas or your liver or your heart, your kidneys, any of that stuff. If you're eating a well-formulated ketogenic diet and you're having periods of time where you're at a surplus, you're going to be fine. You're not going to, jack up your hormones if you give yourself time in that surplus. All the hormonal implications that come from a ketogenic diet, I see in individuals that have been just chronically under-eating. A lot of females that are chronically under-eating and notice their cycle improve when they introduce carbs are because they're having an increase in calories. Yes, carbs can have a acute, Band-Aid effect to a woman's imbalance in their hormonal cycle, but that is also mitigated if they simply eat enough food. When I'm talking with females that have an unhealthy hormonal cycle or hormonal imbalance, it's because they've been chronically under-eating. If they stick with strict keto and they eat ample food, they put themselves in a surplus, I've seen all those issues, reversed. So that would be my recommendation for you there. Eat enough food. Eat enough food. Fuel your body properly. So I appreciate the question. Again, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You requested some chocolate peanut butter cup bricks, so I'm going to send some of those your way. For anybody that does not know how these AMA videos work, if you submit me a well thought out question via the link in the description below and I use your question on one of these AMA videos, then I will send you some free keto bricks with a flavor of your choosing. Thank you all so very much. Talk to you next time.